Hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm Bumi, and today we are watching What Happens If the Moon Crashes into Earth by Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. Yeah, this one is a very interesting video. The title and thumbnail is very contradictory. The thumbnail shows that it did in fact crash into Earth, but with the text not this. So it means that the moon didn't crash, but the title says that it did crash. So I can think of this happening in two ways. Is one, if it's really like barreling down towards Earth, then the other one is that it doesn't have like very high velocity, I guess is the right term, or regardless, very high speed going into Earth. And I think that is most likely the case. So what's gonna happen is that when it reaches the, I think it's called the Roche, I think it's Roche limit, meaning that the Earth's gravity is gonna be way stronger than the moon's like gravity holding it together. So it would mean that the moon will in fact disintegrate. Well, not really disintegrate, but break out into chunks instead of the whole moon barreling down on us. In that case, I don't know if anything would change actually. That would probably mean that everyone will still die. Well, it depends though. A meteor shower is probably more survivable than an entire moon crashing into you. So I guess we'll see what happens in between, but I'm guessing that it will break apart upon reaching the Roche limit, I think. It also depends on whether how long we have to prepare for it. If we did have time to prepare, if it's moving slow, then there's probably a good chance that a small percentage of us will live. So I'm excited to see what happens to that. So let's go ahead and check this out. So remember, if you like my reactions, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. That being said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Today, we are answering an age-old, very scientific and important question. What if the moon crashes into Earth? It's more interesting and weird than you probably think. Let's start with the basics. Why isn't the moon on its way to crash into us already?
It's in an orbit. But I think the moon is slowly going away from us, right? I'm not sure which is which, but I'm pretty sure it's slowly getting away as opposed to slowly getting near us.
We know that Earth's gravity pulls everything towards it, including the moon, but somehow it stays up, as if suspended by some opposite force. But there is no other force countering gravity. Instead, the trick to staying up is a sideways motion that we call an orbit. You see orbits every day. When you throw a ball, it makes a tiny little orbit. The only difference between the ball's orbit and the moon's is that the ball eventually hits the ground.
Well, yeah,
basically, the reason is speed.
Yep, there we go.
If you could throw your ball fast enough, it would bend around the world and come back to you.
Yep.
If there were no air slowing it down, it could orbit forever. And this is what the moon does, falling sideways around Earth very fast with no air slowing it down, orbiting Earth every 27 days at 3,600 kilometers an hour. So, for the moon to just stop in its orbit and plummet to the Earth would break more laws of physics than we have time to explain. So, how do we crash it into Earth? In a nutshell, to change an object's orbit, you need to change its speed, which changes where gravity takes it.
Yep.
But even small changes require enormous forces, which is why all the large objects in the solar system are so stable nowadays. According to science, the moon is big and very massive. Even igniting billions of rocket engines all over its surface would barely move the moon. It looks like nothing short of magic will make the moon fall, so we'll use a magic spell that slows down the moon so much that it changes its orbit and spirals towards Earth. To get
Majora's
the
Mask reference,
the moon will take exactly 1 year before it hits
1 year. Okay, so with that, with it taking 1 year, we probably have time to, like, at least a small percentage of us is gonna survive this. So it is right. I was right. It is gonna be like hitting the Roche limit and then breaking apart and basically turning into a meteor shower.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Magic.
Magic.
Month 1. For the first few days, nothing really changes. The moon gets a tiny bit brighter and scientists get confused, but the rest of us don't notice anything different.
Oh, the tide, that's
the
right.
only noticeable real effect of the moon on the Earth are the tides.
Tides are gonna go higher.
Because while Earth pulls on the moon's gravity pulls back on the Earth. Since the strength of gravity gets weaker with distance, different parts of the Earth feel a slightly different pull, which causes the Earth, especially the oceans, to bulge when the moon is above them and contract a little on the sides when it's not. As Earth rotates every day underneath the moon's influence fluctuates, causing the water level of the oceans to rise and fall.
This is how we get tides.
Twice a day. But with the moon drawing ever closer, high tide gets higher every day. At first barely noticeable, within a month the moon has covered half the distance to the Earth and ocean tides have grown to 4 meters. Every
4
day,
meters,
high tide comes
wow.
And waves flood coastal cities. And there's no end in sight. With the moon drawing ever closer, tides rise ever higher, inundating another city and more inhabited land with salty water every day.
I didn't even think about the tides, and with like salt water coming in, that is gonna ruin farmlands because you can't farm on like salty soil.
Month 2. By the end of month 2, the moon has covered 2/3 of the distance to Earth, and global infrastructure is crumbling as tides rise above 10 meters.
10 meters.
Up to 1 billion people who happen to live near the coastlines.
Yep.
As ports become inoperable, shipping grinds to a halt. Not only will it slow down the delivery of Kurzgesagt products, but also less exciting things like food.
Less exciting things
fall into disarray. 95% of the internet is carried by ocean crossing cables, and while these largely don't mind the water, their terminals on land do. Living inland doesn't guarantee safety either. Tidal bores cause rivers to flow backwards, carrying salt water to contaminate surface and groundwater supplies.
Yeah. So it also like they mentioned, it's not just like farmlands. It will also contaminate groundwater that most of us use to keep hydrated.
Shortages follow as oil refineries near the coast are abandoned. Countries are left with the supplies they had on their shelves, and strict rationing will begin. In the cities, chaos reigns during the scavenging hours of low tide, while survivors take refuge in high-rises when the water returns. Month 3. 3 months in, and the moon is close enough to disrupt communication and navigation satellites.
Oh, right.
While it's normally far too distant for its gravity to cause any major problems for our satellites, the closer it gets, the more warped their orbits become.
Yep.
As their fuel for orbital corrections runs out, satellites careen out of control. Months 4 and 5.
Communications down.
On Earth, the tides are rapidly growing to about 30 meters
and
will be reaching 100 meters in height in a few short weeks.
Holy shit.
At low tide, the ocean recedes hundreds of kilometers.
It's like Interstellar.
Exposing the continental shelf like
not as bad,
deserts,
but
while at high tide, walls of water drown agriculture, houses, and skyscrapers.
Yep.
And now, almost 5 months in, the apocalypse has finished its warm-up act.
Warm-up act.
Since the oceans are on average only 3 kilometers deep, the tides have reached their maximum. Up until now, the water in the oceans could flow, absorbing most of the moon's gravitational squeezing, but now the Earth itself is really feeling the squeeze of the ever-approaching moon. These
tectonic
aren't so
plates?
much tides of water, but tides of rock. The squeezing of the planet combined with the weight of quintillions of tons
now we
of
get,
water sloshing on and off the tectonic plate.
Now we're gonna get, how do you call this, tsunamis and earthquakes.
Creates enormous stresses below and begins to cause earthquakes of increasing magnitude and intensity. It's impossible to say how serious these earthquakes might be or where they occur, but like a child jumping on their bed until it breaks, no good can come of it. Strong tidal forces lead to volcanism on other planets and moons. On Earth, squeezing the planet disrupts the magma reservoirs inside the crust, triggering sizable climate-altering eruptions in Chile, New Zealand, Yellowstone, and elsewhere.
Yeah, I was about to say this is probably the event that like breaks Yellowstone.
Meanwhile, watching patiently above is the moon. Still no bigger in the sky than a small cloud. Within 75,000 kilometers of Earth, it is bright enough to illuminate the night sky like twilight. Months 6 and 7. After half a year, the moon is entering the space once occupied by geosynchronous satellites, where it orbits Earth every 24 hours. It appears to float at one spot in the sky, unmoving, cycling through a full set of phases every day, but only visible to half the planet. With the moon stationary above the Earth, the tides seem to freeze in place. Half the world flooded, half with its water seemingly returned to the sea, as if Earth is holding its breath to prepare for the worst. As the moon sinks further, you might wonder if its gravity would overpower Earth's, pulling you up and ending your mission.
The opposite.
Fortunately not.
Yeah, like I said, when it reaches the Roche limit, I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. They're probably gonna say it correctly in this video, but yeah, there comes a point where the Earth's gravity basically overcomes that of the moon, so it pulls it apart. The same way that, like, if you imagine Thanos pulling the moons of Titan.
The Earth's surface gravity is about 6 times stronger than the moon's, so even if the moon were hovering right on top of you, you would still stay on the ground. On the moon, things are different though. The near side of the moon is more strongly affected by Earth's gravity, so during the next few months, it starts to stretch forward towards the Earth
until it breaks.
Something of an egg, triggering deep moonquakes as the lunar rock flexes and changes shape. Though barely noticeable now, this squish will grow to hundreds of kilometers in a matter of months. Months 8 to 11. At this point, the apocalypse has arrived, and we can summarize the months before the crash as everybody left has a really bad time.
Yeah.
The tides sweeping over the Earth slow down and then reverse their direction because the moon now orbits Earth faster than it rotates.
Damn.
The planet will experience an abundance of earthquakes and volcanism. Massive amounts of volcanic aerosols rise high into the stratosphere, shiny enough to reflect sunlight back into space. What little light gets through is rust red and is periodically diminished by daily eclipses. The result is a rapid global cooling with acid rains and summer snows killing even the hardiest plants. The clock runs out on civilization.
Basically an ice age.
Billions have perished while an X-shaped moon is still drawing closer. Let's get ready for the grand finale. Month 12.
10,000.
Finally, at the end of the year, the moon has reached the Roche limit.
Roche limit,
That's the point where Earth's gravitational pull on the moon is stronger than the moon's own gravity. Things on the lunar surface start falling towards Earth, and by the time it crosses 10,000 kilometers, the entire moon disintegrates into rubble, smearing itself into a massive ring system around the Earth.
Oh, cool.
The moon's disintegration means the misery on Earth has ended. No moon means the general apocalyptic.
I did not think about it turning into a ring system. So it's basically like Saturn, if you think about it. Yeah, so I thought that it will break apart and then fall straight into Earth, but I forgot that it still has that momentum from its orbit. So when it breaks apart, all the momentum carries it over, all the rubble over. Probably not all. Some of it will fall down to Earth, but yeah, most of the rubble will carry it over to form the ring.
Nature of things comes to a halt. The oceans recede, flowing off the land one last time. Any survivors?
Then we will have no more tide after this one. Once the ocean levels out, no more tide will happen.
Are treated to a view of tremendous arches spanning the sky, glimmering in the sunlight, illuminating the night sky more brilliantly than any full moon ever could, while meteor showers of moon dust fill the sky.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what happens next, but the tranquility may be short-lived. If too much moon dust rains down, friction heats the atmosphere, possibly boiling the oceans. If not, the enormous shadows cast by the rings, combined with all the volcanic and meteoric aerosols, block even more sunlight, and a period of runaway cooling could begin that freezes much of Earth's surface.
An ice age.
In any case, at some point people will emerge again, from submarines or bunkers or mountaintops. They will not have a great time before rebuilding civilization unless success is not guaranteed, but at least they'll be trying to do so with beautiful rings in the sky.
Yeah, that is a cool
so
visual.
how do you calculate that sort of thing? Well,
Brilliant.
you just need a bit of insanity and some maths. If you need to brush up on the latter, our friends from Brilliant are the perfect coach.
I thought so. Yeah, go to brilliant.org/Kurzgesagt, I believe. No, brilliant.org/nutshell if you want to get brilliant for yourself. And let's see. No, nothing much. Okay, the ending. Yeah, that wow, ooh, wow, that was an incredible video. I was going into this knowing about the Roche limit and thinking that it would be like the same with Thanos pulling the moon, that it would all come crashing down. But I forgot that the moon still has momentum in its orbit that carries all the, not all, like I said, most of the debris in an orbit around the Earth. So with that would be very interesting, bro. I don't know much about the rings of Saturn to say if it should still reflect light, right? Because I'm thinking that the nights are gonna be darker without the moon reflecting some sunlight back, but the rings will probably do a much better much better job at reflecting the lights, because you will have more surface area to more surface area for the light to reflect, plus it is much nearer to Earth. Then again, I could be wrong on that. He did mention though that it's gonna be bright, so I'm guessing that after all this is said and done, the moonlight will be much brighter than it is. I don't know if it's enough to not need street lamps anymore, but it will still be bright, right? But yeah, not a total civilization ending, yes, for sure, but not like well, it is apocalyptic, but how do you call this? Not an extinction of our species. Some of us will probably live. Most of the heads of state most likely are gonna live. They're either gonna be in submarines or carriers. I don't know, like aircraft carriers. I don't know how well bunkers are gonna work for them, unless if they have like bunkers in the high mountains. So yeah, I mean, that was interesting. I did not expect the outcome to be a ring system. I was expecting it to be like a huge crater somewhere on Earth and then forming another moon with the debris. Yeah, as usual, very good video from Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. But that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Link to my Twitter is down in the description below. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. If you're new here and enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below and consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions down in the comments on what I should check out next as well. Shit, I'm forgetting my ending. But yeah, if you don't really know, you can always discuss stuff in the comments and I most always reply. And yeah, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all next time. Bye!